We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit mte.com
since 1936.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
Now joining us live in studio, we have Rutherford County Commissioner Rick Hall. How are you this morning?
Good morning, sir.
So for those listening, what area do you represent?
So I'm District 3. So if you figured 840 Jefferson Pike all the way out to the Wilson County line, follow Smyrna all the way back in on South Lamar, then I go all the way across. If you follow Florence Road, I take it all the way down Nashville Highway, and then I make a right, and I go back into Smyrna, and I got the Nissan plant. But it's a pretty large area.
I'm curious, a part of Mount Juliet is in Rutherford County, and I'm, on the other side of Percy Priest Lake.
Yep.
Is part of that your district too?
That's actually Carl Boyd's. I touch parts of it, so I do have a few places that have that Mount Juliet address or zip code there. But
isn't that wild though? Part of Mount Juliet's in Rutherford County.
Well, you figure Smyrna Ready Mix. You would think Smyrna Ready Mix and Jefferson Pike would be in Smyrna, but it's actually got a Murfreesboro address.
When you look at the map at how many square miles Rutherford County, it's like 619 square miles.
Sounds
is that
right.
what it is?
Yeah. I knew
it's
over
a
600.
big county, though.
It is huge.
Most counties, they don't have that much land mass. And we're right in the center of the state, too.
The unmatched diversity, I think, in a lot of areas.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that diversity, Middle Tennessee State University, but I think we really started growing with Nissan in Smyrna back in, 1982 when they first talked about it and then broke ground. Was it 85 or something?
It was. Yes, sir.
That just changed everything for the landscape.
Well, I'm a class of 89 Smyrna High, and, it's funny. My wife and I were watching Ozark's Law or whatever it's called.
Man, I love that series. That and Breaking Bad.
That is Smyrna. That's Smyrna in 1993
Are you serious?
92 when
That's
I started.
hilarious.
About the same population. Everybody kind of knew everybody. We had our little cruisers in town, and, they have that little downtown area in the summertime. That's exactly what it remembered. Smyrna in 1993 when I started with the Smyrna PD.
Your background is interesting because you were with Smyrna Police for a pretty good number of years there.
25 years, yeah.
What was that like?
I absolutely loved my time with Smyrna. I grew up a Smyrna guy, and that was back in the day that, you had your commissioners of Smyrna that were over things. So you had, Paul Johns was over fire and police, and he come to me one day and says, "Hey, I'd like you to work for me." And he, with his brother Steve, owned a appliance store. And I said, Mr. Johns, I can't see me selling appliances. He said, "Oh, no, I'm not talking about that." He says, "I want you to be a police officer for us." And I said, "Well, I never thought about that." I said, "You go from chasing me to making me one. I don't know." So I talked to Mom and Dad about it, and Mom was obviously no, but Dad's like, "What do they pay? What kind of insurance benefits they got?" He was the brain of the whole situation. I went back, asked about that, went back, told Dad, and he says, "Well, I think you ought to try it for a while." So there you go. I started in December of 92. I was 21 years old. Legal enough to start buying bullets, and here I go hitting the roads of Smyrna.
Isn't it funny how all moms and dads are so similar in it's always the mom, "No, I don't want you ever to be in law enforcement," and "No, I don't want you to ever have a motorcycle."
That's right.
And Dad's like, I had 3 of them,
Yeah.
It's funny how that never changes, though. Over the years, even, it doesn't change. You're usually on the air, every Tuesday morning with Wayne Blair. And I was asking you before you came on, have we ever had you on the air just to talk about being a county commissioner? And we haven't.
No. I had a unique situation. I took over for commissioner that had to resign his seat for medical reasons, and Commissioner Rather. So it's a unique situation, and here I go, running again. I'm unopposed. So you're stuck with me for 4 more years, Scott.
Fine with me. I look at those who are in politics and I ask myself, is there any way I could ever do that? And I couldn't. You have to have the right personality, and it's got to be draining at times.
It's a lot different. Of course, I was on 15 years ago. I was in District 12 then, which was all inside the Smyrna city limits. So today with social media and access that people can get to you in your personal lives is it's a lot different,
It's
within
totally
minutes
different.
of you making a vote, it's online and people, giving their 2 cents worth and whatnot. But I rely heavily on my family and on my faith. And I feel like every time I push that yes or no button up there since I've been up there that I'm making the right decision, not only for me, but, our family and you're a resident here. And I got to think about all of y'all when we're up there making those decisions. Today compared to even 1980, it's a huge difference in how accessible we are just as humans. I mean, people can call us, text us, message us on social media 24/7, and they do, you know. And the flip side of it is they expect you to answer or reply within a matter of minutes. And if you don't, people get their feelings hurt. They get mad. I mean, it's just they take it the wrong way. It's just kind of weird where we are today with technology. I was rare to get people to contact me before. Now I get weekly calls, either for codes issues, neighbors, got bamboo growing over their own property, the dogs and cats to, it's amazing. They have no issue whatsoever now contacting us. And a lot of people don't understand what we do, but then again, when they figure it out, they'll rely heavily on us doing things for them. And it's almost like you see on social media. Sometimes you see the craziest of comments, the craziest of posts, and people, when they're saying these things online, there's no fear. It's just like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to say whatever I say. But when you see them in person, it's totally different. People are calmer. They're usually more friendly, but online it's like, man, who is my friend, who is my enemy at times? I agree. Yeah. Well, on the commission, you see that a lot of difference of, we have a lot of bonds within the commission, but those are quickly on certain situations that cause us conflict. So there's a lot of division for that. This commission seat, was this your first time to be in public politics? No, I was on the commission for 4 years before. 2006 through 10, I was in District 12. I ran, and I wanted to see a lot of change within our schools. At the time, I had a daughter that was born and a stepdaughter, and I saw the way things were going, and I kind of ran on that. And pretty funny because that was my stance. And of course, you release your statement, and then it goes in the newspaper, and then Harry Gill cornered me at early voting one day, and he was yelling at me. He was like, what's wrong with my educational plan? What am I doing wrong? I said, Harry, I just want to fund you better. Yeah. I said, I just went to John Coleman School because it was over in my district for a reason, and the floor was spongy, and it was built in World War II. I said, we can do better than that. And you say the word family. You say, I've got kids in, for example, the school system. And then you have the other side out there who automatically, I can't believe you're doing this for your personal benefit. And I'm like, no, that's not exactly the case here. That's right. What are the craziest things that have happened so far since you've been in politics? What are some things that, I don't know, maybe weird phone calls, stuff that you've gotten that others may be surprised to hear? I think, to be honest with you, the recent thing that we just had on public safety a couple of weeks ago, we voted for a new CAD system for the fire department. And obviously just went through budgeting, but it was one of those things that we didn't realize we had a problem until you got a problem. Yeah. And, they, between emergency management agency, EMS, the emergency management services, which is your ambulance service that run, and then the fire department all kind of run on the same system, and it was all managed by the sheriff's office. Where there's been some changes at the sheriff's office as far as their leadership over there in their IT department, and it's created a void there with getting things serviced and getting things happening. So we were kind of pushed into that position. But I've had like 4 very irate people reach out to me, almost yelling at me. It's just crazy, but I'm a pro public safety guy. Yeah. I'm a pro education guy, and I want Rutherford County to be better than the place I grew up in. And I feel like in my time before and now, we touched 14 schools when I was in office before. We made remodeling. Wayne Blair, he's my partner here that we do our show together, and he was on the school board at the time. But we were able to remodel or start or build 14 new schools in 4 years. Man. And if you know what was 2008, 2010, it was a recessionary time, right? Yeah. We were able to accomplish a lot. Mayor Burgess came in and had a phenomenal plan, and just one of the most smartest, brilliant men I've ever met in my life. And, that's going to carry over this commission I've been on now, and the next one we got a lot of new faces. Chairman Phillips is rolling off, and Craig Harris is rolling off, and Paul Johnson's rolling off. Pettis Reed is a big loss for our commission. He's rolling off. So we've got several guys that are not going to be there this next commission, and we're going to have people that stand up, fill those slots, and do it with a sense of passion, really, because it's a second job. You get paid a little bit, but it's really a second job that you really got to look at full time.
New residents who come into the area, some of them don't realize that, for example, the city of Murfreesboro mayor position, it's a part-time position.
That's right.
People just assume it's a full-time job. And some people even assume that county commissioners are full-time people. They don't know, because I know there's some areas across the country where their government's set up totally different, and it may be a full-time gig in some areas. But people don't understand it's really a part-time job, but yet it's a full-time job in a sense, because you're getting calls, emails, texts, just 24/7.
Yeah. Well, when you run for public office, you come in with an idea of what you think you're going to accomplish. Then once you get in there and you see the full scope of what you're in charge with, that one idea that you had, and you find out is not really the most pressing thing that needs to happen. And, there's a multitude of other things that come before that. That's like this election cycle. There's a lot of people running on some things that I think once they come in there and they figure out, it's going to change their mind pretty quickly.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I've got the best kids in the world, hands down the best kids.
I couldn't think of it any other way, Scott.
But
I know one's a fireman, so he's a pretty good guy there already.
I was going to say, I've got two who are first responders.
That's right.
One works for the fire department in Rutherford County, and then I don't know if I should say that on the air.
Oh yeah.
The other one works for the fire department in Mount Juliet. He's a critical care paramedic. It's interesting when I talk to them about what they do day in and day out. Man, even though my kids, I couldn't see, there's certain jobs I could do and couldn't do. I couldn't do what they do. See the stuff that I couldn't unsee it.
Oh, I know.
One of my sons, he served in the Army for 6 years, and when he was in the Army, he was a flight medic, and he was on a national training base, but they also, because it was so rural, they also worked basically what Life Flight does here, and they worked the interstate as well between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And just to hear him talk about those stories alone and the accidents he has seen, and first responders need so much more thanks from the community. They need so much more support from the community. But, you got those who don't understand that.
I agree. I'm on a Facebook group, and it's a lot of present and retired law enforcement officers, and the amount of guys now that PTSD has now been recognized for a lot of things. But one thing that's not recognized is our public safety. Our fire, police, EMS guys are seeing just as much, if not worse, things that a lot of people in the military do.
Yeah.
And the military and the federal government has set up things as far as disability and programs for those veterans that done that, and they deserve it. But I feel like our first responders deserve the same thing. I mean, I've seen well over 1,000 dead bodies in 25 years. 18 of that I worked as a detective and worked 14 homicides. So what I almost thought was a regular thing until I got out of it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, these guys deserve. And there was somebody asking, back to that post, he was asking about some kind of disability because he's having a hard time. And first thing they do in law enforcement, if you say, look, I'm having a lot of side effects to that, and they send you to somebody, and then they say, well, they think you might have PTSD, the first thing they do is take your gun away. And they put you on a desk, and they say, well, you can't do what you do anymore.
Yeah.
Put you out the pasture, basically. They may offer you another spot, street department or something like that, but your days of a police officer are done.
I remember my son's very first call to me after he was stationed at the base he was at. The case that he called me, you can't tell specific details and all that stuff, but man, he was so upset. It was a newborn baby, and we're talking a military base. The parents had murdered the child.
Yep.
And I thought, man, you're still my little kid. That's tough.
Worst call I've ever been on is I had a new baby, and Landry, she's 20, she'll be 21 next month. She's about 4 months old, and I got called to an infant death scene, and I went in, and it was a baby but the exact same age as my daughter. It was a little boy. but they looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And he had got his first shots, and had a fever and everything from it, and had some complications, and unfortunately passed away. But all I saw laying there was my daughter.
Yeah.
And I had to back out and go out in the parking lot and apartment complex I was at, and got on my phone. I called my sergeant at the time, and I said, "Hey, buddy, I need you to come over and work this." And he says, "Well, why? What's going on?" And I said, "It looks just like my daughter." I said, "It just looks like Landry. I can't work this one, man." He said, "Hey, I get it. Just sit in your car. I'll be there in a minute." So he came in, took over, and did it. But I carry that with me to this day. Just went home, cried, hugged my daughter, and changed my life forever.
God's timing for when things occur, I'm sure there's reasons for it that we will understand later, but I remember for my son that first major call, it happened while his wife was pregnant. They're living on the base together, and that's when that call happened, before my grandson was born. At the time of that call, I don't know what go into the ingredients of making a good father, but I know that was part of it. And that's tough. For the general public to understand those things that first responders see day in and day out, there's no amount of money that can pay salary. There's no amount of money that can pay for those things that are always going to stick with you.
I agree totally. And they deserve our praise. They deserve our thanks. And, after 9/11, it seemed like there was a, resurgence of pro-law enforcement. And of course, you had the days of the riots in LA and things like that Milwaukee, that changed things. And, but I think we're getting back to that again, a real appreciation of what these guys and girls do out here in this country for us.
My daughter is working. She's almost at the end of the 2026-2027, this next college semester. She'll be finished with her degree to become a nurse. When I say I don't know where my kids get it from, because I don't have that ability to work with people who could possibly die. I don't have that. It is something that I do wish other people would understand, because when I look at the first responders, I feel like, why can't we give them a better raise? Just across the board, not just Rutherford County, city. I mean, you name it. I don't know what we can do, but there's got to be something, because so many of them cannot afford to live in the counties and the cities where they work.
That's the hard part about holding public office. Cities, Smyrna, Laverne, Murfreesboro, they all make a lot of money with growth. They have impact fees. Rutherford County government, we don't have impact fees. We have to have permission by the state of any kind of new revenue we want to go in. We've got to change our charter, and we have to send it up. We have to have senators and state reps carry those bills for us. And unfortunately, we've been defeated many times with trying to come in with other revenue sources. So our public safety services are paid a lot, like 15, 17% lower than their counterparts that may work in a municipality. And same time, 70% of our budget goes where? To education. So we got everybody else fighting over that last 30%, that last 29, 28%, because we're going to fund our kids and our educational budget first. And, here we are, the fourth largest county in the state with, 54,000 kids being educated. It takes a lot of our budget, and a lot of our budget and our time goes towards that. We got next 5 years. This commission's going to be a wild 4 years. We got $151 million, that 5-year plan that we got to rehab a lot of schools.
I'm all about education, but at the same time, I do wonder, if you were to pay first responders more, would you get better? I hate to say it, would you get better service? Would you get better protection even within the schools? If people were paid just a little bit more to show these first responders, hey man, we appreciate you more than you realize. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I see the state passing laws to where schools have to have bulletproof glass, stuff like that happening. I understand that, but why not just make the glass higher, so where even if you do shoot it out, you can't crawl into it? Aren't there other things that could have been done? I know it's a state mandated issue now, but there's other things we could have done.
I agree. I think, but that's a knee jerk of who's most important in your family, your kids. And it's a knee-jerk reaction.
And that was, you're right, that was a knee-jerk because that happened right after the incident in Nashville.
That's right, exactly right. So, but I mean, our SRO, we started the SRO division in the state of Tennessee.
I remember that.
Our division
was it 92 or 3? What was it?
Yeah, everybody came around and they wanted to see what we were doing.
Yeah.
What is this you're doing and how are you doing it? And we were putting officers in schools. And I know several guys that are SROs right now, and the job they do and the hours they work, the relationships they have with kids. What's funny is I know one, and he's got one that's in the police academy, and he's got one right now that's already graduated and is a member now of the sheriff's office, and he doesn't feel like he's that old. But I said, man, you're old if you got guys that's already graduated and they've gone to school.
I never had an SRO.
Yeah, so they do a phenomenal job. My neighbor's one, and I had a little guy that Dustin Cox. He comes on here all the time. He's a sergeant.
Oh man, he is a great guy.
And
great
he was
stories.
that little snot-nosed kid reading across the fence when I used to work Smyrna High games before they were. Yeah. We knew what SROs. And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna be just like you one time." And they're like, "Yeah, I'm sure you will."
Thumbs up, buddy.
I knew his dad really well. That played golf, and his mom. And I got a call one day from Dustin. He said he wanted to go to the police academy and he's gonna put himself through it at Walter State. And I said, "Well, let's do it, buddy." So we got him a gun belt, and I gave him a pair of handcuffs, and he hangs them still over his mirror in his patrol car that I gave him way back then. But I can't be prouder in what he does for this community. And I wish I could take him out of the sheriff's office and put him in insurance with me, because he can sell anything, and he's not in a sales position, but he can sell that sheriff's office and what they do and what that SRO division does.
I love it how it's always the people we least expect to go the furthest, those who we never expect to, like example, go into law enforcement. They become the best police officers, the best SROs, the best sheriff's deputies and sergeants and captains. I mean, those are the ones who excel. And I almost think it's because they're doing it in spite of everybody's thoughts. Hey, man, I'm going to rise way above what you think I am.
That's exactly, well, God puts you in situations, and if you've got a life of public service, you don't get to pick it. It's picked for you. And there's a lot of people that way. You say you couldn't do it, but Scott, I know you can, because your dedication to public services and their radio station, you would fall right into the mold of that next level if you ever were asked or put in that situation. I know you could do it.
I may be a little late now to be an officer or a first responder. It would be fun. Yeah.
You ever done 70 on Broad Street?
I'm not saying, but right. Man, there's a ton of aspects of jobs like that I would flat out love.
Oh yeah.
The loss of life part. That's the part that I think I couldn't cope with. But then again, you got some folks who they'll tell you we're not meant to cope with that as humans. But that's the part that you deal with, that you see day in and day out.
Well, I enjoyed my years. I'm glad I'm out of law enforcement. I miss my guys. I don't miss the circus. That's what I always say. I loved all my animals I worked with. For 25 years, I had guys in blue animals, and they were Smyrna and Rutherford County and Murfreesboro. I did, I worked with TBI a lot. And I miss all those guys, but I sure don't miss the circus we were put in.
The opioid abatement money that Rutherford County receives is it each month or is it each year? How do they divide that up? Is it annually?
Yeah, it's a state thing yearly, so we kind of know annually what we got coming in.
And then here locally, there's a board who oversees, approving grants that are all Rutherford County based grants on programs, on things that will help to fight those issues. Has that gone a long way in helping Rutherford County?
Yes. I mean, if you listen to the sheriff's office and the programs, and I know I had somebody pretty close to me that had a son that OD'd, and of course the ambulance went over there, and all concerned neighbors and everything running up and going on. And I saw about 3 or 4 days, I saw, 2 cars over there, and I said, those look like police cars unmarked, and it ended up being, it was 2 detectives. And that's part of that money that pays, that they go, hey, if you want to seek help, we've got a program we can put you in and help you and get you through the STEPS program to maybe get you off this addiction that you've got going on, and try to look beyond just that call and say, all right, why have we got this addiction? Is there something mentally going on, or is there something that's happened in your past, a trauma is there an injury? That early 90s, if you figure when I came on, that's when this prescription drug thing, Oxycontin and everything else that come to fruition. I had a police dog in Justice, and we worked drugs. But of course, he couldn't hit on prescription drugs, but marijuana, cocaine, meth, all that, heroin, he was certified on all that, and we would find it a lot. But we started getting really hit hard. And I mean, we used to, you probably covered them, but we used to do those buys, undercover buys, and we'd get 30 or 40 people that we would end up banking 3 buys on, and we would indict them, and then we'd have these big roundups, and everybody come in, and we'd arrest all these people and put their pays. And we thought, well, we'll shame them into not wanting to do this anymore. And we weren't thinking at the time that these are addicts just trying to fix their problems. And if all the money we spent, court costs and everything else and jail time, and I think that's where drug court that we've got now and this opioid thing, we said off air, we kind of missed a contract that would have gave us about, tens of millions of dollars over the next 4 years that would have helped just funnel right in here to Rutherford County to support programs. And unfortunately missed out on that. But I could see the benefits we could have been able to start programs. And just like that SRO division, we could have been a model for this state for everybody coming in there and go, now, how are you doing this? How's it working?
Yeah. County Commissioner Rick Hall with us. Now, that grant money that we missed out on, if I understand correctly, it was going to be made available to like 8 counties across the nation. I think 32 applied. That means our odds of getting it were extremely high. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I know we heard from Commissioner Craig Harris, and he was saying the reason why Mayor Carr wouldn't sign it in time was because Craig Harris's name was attached to it. And I have no idea if that's true or not, other than what Craig Harris has said himself. But the bottom line is it wasn't filled out and signed in time from what I understand, and it didn't get turned in by the proper deadline, and we missed out on it.
Yeah, I don't know the backstory. Obviously, there's 2 things that are being said about that right now, but the point was we missed out on that. And I do know that Craig Harris is coming off the commission, and he came on the commission because of a family situation that he wanted to make a difference with this drug problem that we have and opioids that we have, that this reoccurring, it's like a wheel. Once you get on that wheel, it just keeps on spinning, and there's no way to ever get off that wheel. And his personal mission was to change how that wheel is done. And he's been doing a great, with the opioid board and getting it started and those programs and those grants that we were getting. And this is just another grant. Now, he would have stayed on that program. He wouldn't been on the county commission, but he would have overseen and been a director of that. And I think that's where the problem was, or I think the county mayor had a problem with that. But, that man came in here wanting to do that, and that's where his passion was. I'm on public safety, and I got a passion for public safety. And like you said, we need to pay him more, and if I can figure out a way to do it, that's going to be my passion. But I sure hate that we missed out on that program.
And that grant was going to pay, I think, $12 million over a 4-year period, which I know one of the things, as an example, a grant was approved this year for the first time for the sheriff's department to buy a new canine narcotics dog.
That's right.
And that, I never even thought about, man, that is a great thing to apply for, because that not only fights it coming in off the interstate, but it fights it at a level of, just making a seizure of it to get it off the street, period.
If you break down the budget and look at the sheriff's office budget, look at what they're paying on our doctors' fees and nurses' fees. It's a walk-in pharmacy of them going cell to cell to cell, handing out medications.
Man.
It's because so many people have some kind of addiction or problem when they're in there.
Yeah.
And now they've been caught. Now they're in our system. We're having to pay for them. So we're dealing with all the ailments they may have. And then on top of that, trying to treat an addiction to get it by until they're out of there. Now, our average time of somebody being in jail is 27 days.
Yeah.
So if they go to the nurse call every 2 days for that 27 days they're in there, we're spending all this money. And you take that $14 million a year, what kind of program we could have put together just in our jail program and our workhouse program. William Cope over there, director of workhouse, is known nationally for the programs that he puts forward and the things that he does. And that's part of the whole thing right now. Everybody's mad about the department, the land over there on Church Street that we're looking at maybe putting a sheriff's office over there. We want to tap in with what William Cope's got. We don't want to change what he's got. We want to expand on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's got classroom space that we can use. He's got a kitchen we can use. He's got a laundry facility that we can use that cut costs of what that next jail is. And on top of that, what we could have done with that extra $14 million a year for the opioid side of that to help us fund that thing. It would have just, man, what we could have done with that.
Again, County Commissioner Rick Hall with us. I know we're already out of time, but as we close this morning, for those listening, whether you know it or not, everybody out there listening has got some kind of tie to a family member who's battling either flat out addiction or a potential they're about to hit what you're going to call addiction, either from drugs or alcohol or something. I mean, it's going to happen. If you don't recognize it yet, you're going to at some point or another. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Very much so.
We appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you, Scott.
Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Anytime.